Hi, and welcome to today's webinar, Enticing Gothenburg and West Sweden. My name is Paloma Villaverde de Rico, and I am the editor-in-chief of Recommend Magazine and moderator of this webinar, which has been made possible by Visit Sweden. Our speaker today is Magnus Lindberg, Marketing Manager, Travel Trade, US for Visit Sweden. For today's webinar, he will be speaking about West Sweden and Gothenburg, a region with thousands of islands, fishing villages with world-class seafood, and a rich, unspoiled natural landscape perfect for outdoor adventures. Gothenburg is Sweden's second largest city and quite often also described as Sweden's culinary capital. It's the home of Volvo, historic cobblestoned neighborhoods with fantastic cafes, Swedish design and fashion boutiques, and the urban music fest way out west. Before we begin the webinar, a few housekeeping items. During the presentation, feel free to enter your questions in the question box. We'll gather them together and hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If your questions have not been answered, we will be providing our speakers with all the questions so they can respond offline. Don't worry, if you miss something, this webinar is being recorded and you will receive a link via email to access the recording at your leisure. And the best part, for those who attend the entire presentation, one attendee will win a $250 gift card, and all attendees will earn 1 CEU credit. We will be announcing the winner at the end of the presentation. So sit back, get comfortable. The webinar begins now. Magnus, take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here today. My name is Magnus. I think I got a beautiful presentation about what the region is all about and what my home country is all about. I'm based in New York. I work for Visit Sweden, which is the official tourist board of Sweden. We more or less your extended arm here in the US. If you have any questions, if you need any information from us, feel free to contact me or any of my colleagues. I'm going to welcome you to something else. I'm going to showcase Gothenburg and West Sweden. I also want to give you a little bit of an idea how to get there. You can, of course, swim if you like. It's a bit far. It's a bit cold in the water of crossing the Atlantic. But anyway, this is the globe on the left-hand side. If you are from Stockholm, our capital, that's where you fly in. And it's also how a Stockholmer perceive the location on the globe for Stockholm. Gothenburg is the second largest city, so it's 50 minutes flying from Stockholm or 3 hours with the Swedish rail SJ. But if you don't want to be just in Sweden, we also have very proximity to rest of Europe. For instance, there is 2 hours flying to London, 3 hours to Rome, 1 hour to St. Petersburg, and where you more or less you depart at the same time as you arrive in St. Petersburg because of the time difference. If you look into the top right corner, you can see the Scandinavian peninsula, and the yellow marked on the map is where what we are focusing on today. We have 2 main carriers. Scandinavian Airlines is our premier airlines. They have a 3-class system, all wide-bodied A320, flying out from Newark, New Jersey, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, and also new route Miami non-stop to Stockholm. At the present, there is no direct flight into Gothenburg. It doesn't make it more or least interesting anyway. We also have another carrier, which is Norwegian Air. You can more or less say that Norwegian Air is our version of JetBlue. It's a 2-class system, economy and premium economy. They don't fly as frequent as SAS does, but they do fly from Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, New York, JFK Airport, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, which is Oakland. This region here we're focusing on today is West Sweden and Gothenburg. It's also where I'm born. I'm born in a tiny little city called Åmål, which only have 11,000 inhabitants. So it's very tiny. Gothenburg is also very close by the Norwegian border, only 2 hours to Oslo. Driving to Copenhagen in Denmark, it's a 3-hour drive. So what's the fuss and why should we go there? I'm not sure if you read or seen CNN. They have just announced that the coastline of West Sweden is one of the most pristine coastlines in the world, and you're going to see what I mean with saying that. But we're moving on to Gothenburg, which is the second largest city, as I said, and we already heard it's cobblestone streets and cozy neighborhoods. It's also, in people's mouth, it's called the Little London. People has the mentality is a bit also British in the sense of humor, while Stockholm is very much more of a New York destination. Gothenburg has gorgeous design, Scandinavian design, beautiful design stores. It's a very green city. It's also a very festival-driven city. They have a music and arts, which way out west was something we mentioned. They also have a taste of Gothenburg. They have autumn festivals, winter holiday festivals, etc. Food, absolutely one of the best seafood destinations in the world. We have 7 restaurants in the Guide Michelin, which is you're all aware of. Gothenburg is also very easy to walk around in. You can walk from one circle here to the other end of the circle within 30 minutes. And within that area, which you see on the map here, that's where all the major sites are located. This is Gothenburg. This is the downtown area of Gothenburg, and this is really the central part of Gothenburg. The canal you see here, it's built by the Dutch, very much influenced by the Dutch people when they came here in the 1600s. This is also where you do a lot of sightseeing boats goes on these canals, but you can also, if you want to, if you're adventurous, you can also do kayaking in these canals, or you can bicycle around the canal. This is really the downtown area of Gothenburg. And if you look to the right, you see one of our rivers that comes down, and you can see remnants of what used to be a very big shipyard area where Gothenburg built a lot of ships, not only in the 70s, 1970s, but also back in the days 1500s, 1600s. Just a few images of the city. Here you see the canal. Here you can envision yourself kayaking through that. It's pretty fantastic to do. Also the Cathedral of Gothenburg, or the German church, is also on that map. And then food. We all love great food, and Gothenburg, as I said, has one of the best seafood you can imagine. The whole sea outside is sort of the pantry of Gothenburg. You go to a church even to buy your fish or your shellfish, etc. Speaking of the sea, you can go outside. This is 30 minutes outside. You have a pristine archipelago, a cluster of islands where 90% of the islands in the southern archipelago are actually car free. Here you can do a day excursion. You can go out just to have a visit or lunch in a restaurant, or you can go swimming. Yes, it's not only Swedes that swim in the Atlantic. It's fairly warm due to the Gulf Stream that comes in there. If you don't want to swim, you can go on a little safari, and you drive in Volvo. We just mentioned that Volvo, this is the hometown of Volvo. That's where it's all started. And what you can do, you can take a time capsule trip in the old type of Gothenburg, and you drive in these Volvo cars. It's really fun. It's a shift stick, I believe it's called. And you get also a moderator who tells you the old sites. And back in the 50s, 60s, they were postcards where, Gothenburg had a lot of highways outside. They took postcards, on pictures on the roads to see, the new modern world is coming. Now no one photographs highways anymore. But anyway, kayaking I mentioned, also beautiful art museum. One of the best art museums in Scandinavia is this Gothenburg Konstmuseum. That's really a must do when you come to Gothenburg. It's also very centrally located, so you do that, you go for a walk around the museum, you can have lunch there, they have a great shop, etc. And then after that, we talked about the canal, you take the typical paddan. Paddan is translated to the toad. That's what these boats called. You go on these sightseeings along and you get a really, really beautiful image of the city and how it's built, all the waters, etc. You understand how the areas connect and so on. Great outdoor restaurants, etc. in the summer, great shopping we mentioned. Really, I would say that the shopping is very compact. It's also, you have the major brands, but you also have something that is very unique for Gothenburg region. You know, it could be fashion designers that are from Gothenburg, or it could be interior designs that are made in Gothenburg and, you know, only shown there, together with the major, larger, multi-international brands. Gothenburg is also a harbor for some of the major cruise lines. Crystal Cruises comes into Gothenburg. They don't do any, they only do day excursions, so they don't do turnaround there. You can also visit, in the right-hand corner, you can see the MS Gothenburg, which is a replica of an old East Indian boat that went to East India to pick up teas, silks, etc. during the 1700s. It was one of the biggest company back in the days. That boat sank just outside Gothenburg, and there's still remains of the porcelain that they brought back from China, etc. Beautiful museum today. Fantastic to visit. That's, I would say that that's a must see too in Gothenburg too. On the top corner there is another, as you can see, then the seafarer destination of Gothenburg. It's also a boat docked outside the Opera House of Gothenburg, which sits on the water. Also, smaller boat or a ferry. These ferries connect the mainland with the island of Hisingen. It's also something where the Gothenburg is located. We talked about festivals previously. The Pride Festival is a yearly festival towards the LGBT community. It's this year it has the Euro Pride, which is one of the largest events taking place in Gothenburg in 2018. It's combined with Gothenburg and Stockholm. The amusement park Liseberg, incredible place to go if you are multi-generational, if you are a kid, or if you're just young at heart. You go to Liseberg. It's a beautiful amusement park, but it also has a beautiful garden, so you don't, even if you don't want to go on a roller coaster, etc., you should really go there. What they do after the high season, they also open up the museum doing like an autumn festival, Halloween festival, and in the winter time it's a holiday festival. Typical Christmas market, Santa Lucia, food, etc. Spectacular, just beautiful to visit that. So when it comes to hotel, a lot of things have happened there, I would say. You have some really chic boutique hotels, like on the larger image there is the Hotel Pigalle, which is more or less like Paris in the 1920s. It's stunning, beautiful, small boutique hotel. In the lower part you see Hotel Dorsia, which is a preferred hotel. And on the top right, I have a problem with left and right, as you probably noticed already now, but anyhow, Clarion Hotel Post. If you see Clarion, don't get alarmed. Clarion in the States and in Scandinavia is completely different. Clarion hotels around Scandinavia are a lot of times one of the best hotels to stay in that destination going to. Clarion Post is at the central station. It's in the old postal building, and this is also one of the larger hotels. Really beautiful property. We also have the Scandic brand in entire Scandinavia and Finland, and they have some beautiful hotels in Gothenburg as well, from smaller hotels to larger, more convention hotels. So that's a little bit about the hotel scene there. It's ever changing. You can get a hotel that is suitable for any wallet and for any family or occasion they're traveling for. So just a little brush up what you shouldn't forget. These are the top 10 in Gothenburg. Eat at Feskekyrka. Feskekyrka is the fish church. You should ride the historical trams that are still the commuting way for most people from Gothenburg. You visit the gardens and the Palm House. You should go to Liseberg. You should have a classic Swedish fika. Not sure if you know what a fika is, but it's vital for every Swede. It's a coffee break, and we do that every day. We solve problems over a fika. We celebrate over a fika, and basically it's a cinnamon bun and coffee. Obviously, everybody loves shopping, so you should do some Swedish design shopping. You should be cultural. It's always nice when you go to Sweden, and then the art museum I mentioned, and then the time travel with Volvo, and then the archipelago, and then of course go with the toad, or paddan as we say. I'm moving on. This is a map where we just leaving Gothenburg now, and then you see a circle called Marstrand here. A beautiful fortress. It's also one of these older spa destinations where people went in the end of 1800s, 1900s. They went to be healthy because the sea air was very good. That's beautiful. And we're going to going to move up the coastline here so you get an idea. It's astounding, the archipelago and the nations. There is some really unique accommodations, hotels. There is hotels with only 4 hotel rooms called Lådfabriken, which is built in an old factory where they made the boxes for the fish. The seafood is absolutely world class. One of the best seafoods you can imagine. It's studded with castles and fortresses. A lot of activities are soft adventures, hiking, biking, kayaking, swimming, and there are museums, and there is also sculpture gardens that are outside, which is something that you must do. I'm going to just give you an idea of how it looks. This is the islands outside. When you look straight out, you go to Scotland. These are the lakes of West Sweden. Beautiful. Kayaking here on that mirror, it's pretty spectacular. Small huts where some of them are restaurants, and then you will soon just, there we go. The sunsets are incredible. I get homesick, guys. I'm sorry, I want to go back there now very fast. But these are the villages. Most of them are maybe 150, 300 people per maximum living in these villages. It could be even smaller. They live a beautiful life there. A lot of them has restaurants, or they go on oyster safaris, shellfish safaris in general, and so on, and they take you out to their own sort of boat shacks. Here is a Pilane. It's a sculpture park. It sits out on the rocks. You can see remains from the Iron Age as well as these modern sculpture park. To the right-hand side in the corner, there is the Nordic Aquarelle Museum, where you see its watercolors, beautiful. And then the Mussel Bar is one of the top restaurants in that area we're looking at. Fjällbacka. If I would have seen you now, I will ask you, do you know who Ingrid Bergman is? And you would probably nod and say yes. Ingrid Bergman, this is her flat. This is where she went all summers. Isabella Rossellini and her Roberto Rossellini, they also grew up there in the summers. These are a typical little village of the West Coast. This is what you do. You go out on a boat, or you just stroll around the quays, you sit, relax, see the sun go down in the west, etc. You can also in Fjällbacka, if you read, or if you're interested in detective romance, you can go and read about Läckberg, who has written a lot of these really chilling books about life there. These are also one of the companies that takes out groups, and this is perfect to do multi-generational, for instance, to go out and fish with the fishermen here. And then you get to eat what you get. But don't worry, if you don't get any fish, they will provide you food anyway. It's a lot of focus on soft adventure. You don't have to do it, but it really engages you to do kayaking or bicycling in some of the villages that there is no people, canoeing. Oh, now I did a mistake. Just going to get this going, but I can't. There we go. So this is how it looks. As you can see, the sea is very calm. It's the ocean, but it's very calm. It's very clear. You can go swimming on a deserted beach, or you can just sit, relax. You can bring your picnic. The hotel can organize a picnic for you, or you can just wander out and see the beauty of the world we're living in. You can also put up a tent. We have something called freedom to roam. Freedom to roam means that you have access to the land. You can put up a tent. You don't need, if you're staying for one night, you don't need to ask the landlord for permission. This is very typical for Sweden, about the freedom to roam. We can go out in our forest, we can go out on the islands, and we are free to walk wherever we want to. And of course, so are the visitors. If you are more the person that want to have it more relaxed, don't want to do too much of physical activity, this is another thing that we're really recommending. It's to go on these old steamboats. You go along the coast and you see it. You've been pampered and you've been well taken care of on the boats. Just to see that you can go from Gothenberg and up for 2 days or 3 days stay. You can also visit castles we talked about. This is a beautiful Baroque palace from 1500s. You can see how the porcelain, the Swedish porcelain, were made. Or you can be indulged and enjoy the kanelbullar, for instance, cinnamon buns. The 7 different kinds of cookies that is very famous for Sweden too. That's what you had to invite when you invited people over. You had to have 7 different kinds of cookies, a cinnamon bun or Danish, and then followed by a cake. And with great look, if it was something special occasion is the word I'm looking for, a princess cake. The green dome here, it's so decadent, filled with cream and then covered with this marzipan. Fantastic. So what is all about this with Swedish fika? I think this is more self-explanatory, what we certainly like to do. And you can see how much we're spending money on the coffee. Apart from Finland, Sweden is the most coffee drinking destination in the world, and that says a lot. So this is something you have to do. Here again, different hotels, not too many chain hotels out there. You can live in a manor house, or you can live at the Villa Sjötorp, which is this wooden church in the hotel in the right-hand side. Beautiful, only 14 rooms, beautiful, fantastic service. Or Marstrand, the society, the high society hotel, which is in the top right corner, or Bjärstorp Slot, which is a castle hotel. Beautiful. If you go to Fiskebäckskil, we have Gullmarstrand, which is perfect for leisure travelers. It's also perfect for if you have an incentive or if you have a meeting there. It's one of the larger hotels, but it sits on the water. That's a larger image to the left. I mentioned Lådfabriken. That's one of the hotels, and then another smaller inn in the island. This is Lådfabriken, the interior, and it's stunning, really beautiful, perfect for a honeymooner or people that want to go be active on the vacation or just want to be pampered by the couple running the hotel. Beautiful interiors, very colorful, very non-Scandinavian in a very Scandinavian way, I would say. Or you can rent a little hut like this, for instance. So just to wrap up on that, we are soon there. I hope I'm not boring you with all this. I hope you're more or less sitting there booking the tickets for your clients to go to Sweden soon. These are the top 10 in West Sweden, the island hopping in the archipelago, to visit the historical Läckö, to try the oysters, the fresh oysters, the lobsters, the sculpture park of Pilarna and Tjörn. The watercolor museum is fantastic. Just take a boat ride along this pristine coastline. You can kayak in a water national park, Kosterhavet, or just go outside Gothenburg, venture out to Marstrand and Karlsten's fortress, where we were saving ourselves to our nasty people that wanted to invade Sweden. Or just go to the fishing villages in Bohuslän and stay afloat in a hotel which is called Salt and Herring, which is another hotel which is fantastic. That's pretty much it. This is just a little brush, give you an idea of what we have. And again, I'm more than happy to help you with any questions. What is this suitable for? There is also articles. Vogue magazine just had an article why you shouldn't forget Gothenburg, which we are very happy for. Travel and Leisure also promoted the destination. Condé Nast Traveler, National Geographic say that this is the place to go, and we really see an increase of American travelers. Thank you very much. I think we have just in November we had up 79%, which is incredible for us. We have about 250,000 more US travelers 2017 than we had 2015, which is a huge increase. So, and most of it, guess where it comes from? It comes from the travel trade and the travel agents that are booking us and making sure that you give your clients a fantastic idea of where they should go next. Obviously, I love working with Recommend, and I'm very pleased that you're taking your time to listen. And I'm sure this is not the last one we're doing. This is just the beginning of what we have to offer for Gothenburg and West Sweden.
Thank you so much, Magnus. That was really, really stunning. The destination is spectacular. We actually have quite a few questions from our audience. And
Good.
the first one is from Mia, and she actually wants to know how you would pronounce Gothenburg phonetically. I remember you told me yesterday another pronunciation.
Yes, that's Göteborg.
Yes, okay. And actually from Pamela, she wants to know when the Christmas markets open in Gothenburg, and is there more than one market?
Oh, there's several markets. The bigger one is at Liseberg, obviously, and normally they start around the 1st of Advent, so the 25th of November, depending on the calendar year. And then there is areas, the Liseberg is one, but then you have smaller ones, even out on the islands. They have a sort of a island Christmas market where you can buy handicraft, etc. It's beautiful.
Is there something unique that people should be looking for when they're going to these particular Christmas markets in Gothenburg and West Sweden?
It depends on what, back in the day they used a lot of hay, and they still do that on the coast and on the island. Use a lot of tar to do things with it. Obviously, Santa Claus is from Sweden, even if Norway says it's from Norway, and Finland said it's from Finland. So these small little things. things you should buy, small, easy to carry on. Swedish crystal, obviously, beautiful to bring back home. And also what we haven't talked about, there is a lot of sheep in West Sweden and outside Gothenburg. So obviously wool ornaments, or a woolly Santa Claus or so on is perfect too. Or the woven, the linens, it could be like anything from a handkerchief to what do you call that you wipe your dishes with?
Oh, the dishcloth. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like tablecloths or napkins and so. Linen, wool, sheepskin, Swedish crystal, all these types are perfect to buy there.
Oh, so you're saying we have to take an extra luggage, an empty one, right? So we can fill it all
Always,
up and then go back.
always bring an extra empty luggage. That's the only way to travel, I would say.
Benjamin is asking, are any of the hotels you mentioned, like Pigalle or the Clarion, are they located off the canal?
Yes, actually, all the 3 hotels are off the canal that I showed, and a lot of hotels are actually along the canal. The Pigalle sits on the canal more or less. The Clarion Post has a big square, and on the left-hand side, if you look straight to it, you have the Grand Central Station, and on the right-hand side, you have the canal coming in. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. And Chris is asking if English is spoken in the smaller villages.
Yeah, funny you asked that. Yes, they are. You can say more or less all Swedes are shy. But we speak Swedish. We speak Swedish from we are 13. I meant we speak English more or less from, if you're asking a 13-year-old or 10-year-old even nowadays, up to someone 75, 80, definitely. We understand it perfectly. We might be a little bit shy, and we might be a little bit, using very few words.
Mm-hmm.
In Sweden, just to say yes is not insulting. It's just that, yes, I got the message, and you just say that, okay, I got it, or I hear you. So absolutely, they speak English.
Oh, good. And Danny is asking what the warmest months to visit and what the temperature of the seawater is.
Wow. That used to be very easy to say. Now it seems like January is the warmest month. Not really, but I would say August is the warmest month. That's also when the water is the warmest. July is also warm in the water. One of the warmer months. It's also one of the lighter months. June, we don't see the midnight sun so far west of Sweden, but we have a dusk at midnight. You can actually sit outside in Gothenburg or on the west coast and read the papers at midnight, because the sun has set, but it's still very light.
Mm-hmm.
And the sun comes up again in June around 2:30.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. If you go up to the north, you see the sun 24 hours in June. So that's another webinar for you.
Okay. And Pamela's asking if does Gothenburg have many food choices for those who do not eat fish?
Oh yeah, that's also not. If you're a carnivore, it's also a fantastic destination. And what you also see, I would say that Sweden is one of the countries that are in the forefront for vegetarian options and vegan options. It's becoming more and more popular with vegetarian and vegan, and where a lot of restaurant has 80% maybe is vegetarian, and then you add the protein if it's fish, or if it's meat, or in between. So absolutely.
And actually, Sion also has like a follow-up question to that, because he says, what's the best known dish for West Sweden, Gothenburg?
Oh wow.
Too many.
Uh, there is one special which they actually serve at the post. It's called en halv special, a half special, which is a hot dog in a bun, then topped with homemade mashed potatoes. And then in Gothenburg they have a shrimp salad, which is made out of mayonnaise, dill, and fresh shrimps. That's really typical. That's sort of, when I was young, that was sort of after hours you ate. But otherwise, you know, the fish patties is very popular. Cod, making cod is also very popular, but they eat a lot of shellfish, obviously. They're the, which we call langoustine, more or less, the more orange pink crayfish is a
Okay.
speciality of the whole region.
Sounds delicious. I love fish, so it's right up my
Yeah,
alley.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Can you, Caroline is asking if you can recommend any locations, hotels, or venues for destination weddings.
I would say Villa Sjötorp, depending on how large a group is of the wedding parties. Villa Sjötorp is stunning. It's almost, we call it, you know, the carpenter's joy. That's when they do a lot of woodworks and frame every window in, you know, beautiful woodworks and so on. That's romantic. It's a white villa, look almost like a pastry when you see it. The Bjärtorp's castle is another destination that is gorgeous. The Marstrand has two hotels. I would say the Society Hotel is one of the top hotels. Also very, very romantic. You can go out to a smaller part on Donsö. You can almost have, there is a perfume maker out in Donsö that makes, you know, you can special design your wedding perfume even. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
there is quite a few options for a destination wedding that we can recommend. These are just a few I mentioned.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. That's a
Mhm.
beautiful place for a destination wedding, I imagine.
Yes, it is. Yeah, stunning and very, very low key, but you know, gorgeous. And the hotels, they really cater for that sort of, where you get a little bit of rough and a little bit of the romantic, you know, you have the rough
Hmm.
granites outside, or you can be outside with a wedding and then you go into this sort of pastry hotel looking, or you can choose a Scandinavian modern design too, which
That's
Lord
beautiful.
Fabriken is another one.
It's very unique. Or it
Yes,
sounds
it
very
is.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mileta is asking what the recommended length of stay would be in West Sweden and Gothenburg.
I think you can obviously you can go for 3 nights. I would do 2 nights Gothenburg, 3 nights West Coast, and then on your way back, either you add a night in Gothenburg or so. But I would say you should try to keep them in the region, or not keep them, but you know, to go for at least 5 nights, because there's so much to see. You can do it. You can also, obviously you can do Stockholm, take the high-speed train 3 hours, do Gothenburg 2 nights and go back. But you know, there's so much that the region has to offer, which, you know, people get, wow, I wanted to do this. We didn't, we wish we had more time and so on. But it's it's easy to get around
Hmm.
uh, to it. So, but I would say at least 3 nights on the West Sweden, 2 nights in Gothenburg.
Okay. You can get around by car on your own. You can rent a car.
Yes, you can rent a car, and I
Okay.
failed to say that, but we, you know, Volvo, that's the hometown of Volvo. You have the
Oh,
Volvo overseas deliveries. I'm not sure if there is any agents booking that, but where you buy your car, um, in Sweden, and then you self-drive it, and then they ship it back
that's cool.
to the US. For instance, we have special maps where you can sort of, you can go up all the way, the the coast of Sweden. These small little villages and so on are fairly close by. You know, there is maximum an hour drive in between these
Okay.
places, so it's very convenient. It's sort of compact, and then it offers the best view you can have if you look in the rear window or in the front, you know, or on the sides. Beautiful.
Okay, perfect. And Pamela's asking, would hotel rates, etc., be less expensive in Gothenburg and West Sweden than in Stockholm?
Yes, I can say that without hesitation. It's another level of the price is a bit. I don't want to say cheaper, but it's less than in Stockholm.
Okay. And there's another question. How far is the cruise port from the center of Gothenburg? And do ferries arrive at the same port?
The ferries comes in on the river, as I showed you on a photo. You can walk into the city. It's within walking distance. There's two major docks for the cruises, but they're all on the sort of mainland side. There is one further out also, but most of them docks, so you can easily walk into the city.
Okay. And Lorraine is asking, what about flights out of Montreal?
Oh, Lorraine, we wish actually we are working hard to get a US or a Scandinavian carrier to fly from Canada. That hasn't happened yet. I know Finnair is flying Toronto, Helsinki, and not done so. I'm not sure if they do continue for 2018. It has to be either via any of the European hubs like London, Frankfurt, so on, which is, you know, then it's only a 2-hour flight up to Gothenburg. And that you can fly Montreal, London, London, Gothenburg, for instance, or Montreal, Frankfurt, Gothenburg.
Okay.
But no non-stop flights.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the flights out of Miami too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let the audience know that we have a lot of questions coming in. We will try to ask as many here as possible, but we will be
That's so nice.
they'll be followed up. Yes. Magnus will be kind enough to respond to your questions after the presentation is over via email. So do not fret. We will try to get to all of them. So Richard is actually asking if Gothenburg has a huge conference center to host large groups, and are they do they offer handicap facilities?
Handicap facilities is offered in entire Sweden, and it's a law about that. It's also a law how many handicapped rooms a hotel needs to have. So yes, absolutely, and yes, on larger congresses, conferences, etc. It's one of the larger in Sweden, definitely, and one of the largest in Scandinavia. You have Gothia Tower, which is they have a 5-star hotel called the Upper House, and then Gothia Hotel is the largest hotel in Sweden, actually, opposite the Liseberg amusement park. And then you have Scandinavium, which is a multi-purposed arena. You may. So yes to that question.
Okay.
Great,
Okay.
and it also a great destination for if you do conferences and conventions there, because it's very compact. So you save a lot of money on transportation and so on, and it's very easy to get by. I would also recommend that you get, you know, a city pass where you use the trams, because it's really so easy, and no underground, because everything is on ground level, so you can see out, you know where you are. It's a very easy city.
Debbie's actually asking, she knows about the Volvo, obviously, because you explained it, but are there any factory tours?
Yes, there is. You can do a factory tour at Volvo. Absolutely. And that's also when you buy the car there, that's where they showcase the car. You look at the car and then they offer you lunch and so on. And then you can see, you can go and see the Volvo factory.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. And one of the other agents is asking, are you going to be maybe this year or next offering a fam to Gothenburg, West Sweden? And who do the agents book with for clients to stay in West Sweden in Gothenburg?
so how many are listening now if I should answer the fam trip question here now? Yes, we really like when travel agents take the time to follow on educational. We do offer fam trips, and we will offer fam trips this year, absolutely. Then that's a very important role for us. And I wanted to say that when I have a captive audience here, that we really appreciate you make it life so easy that you're taking time to join on these educational trips. We know that you're going most of the time on your free time and so on, which is, you know, fantastic. But just to be educated about the destination, that's fantastic, I think. Then you have to repeat that following question. I didn't understand that really.
Oh, and who do the agents book with for clients to stay in West Sweden and Gothenburg? Are there tour operators, or who should they contact? Obviously, we're going to be sending your information to the audience, but in addition to that, is there anyone else?
If you're looking for an incoming tour operator, we have several that we work with. You know, depending on the complexity of the trip, for instance, and so on. We have a few that we work with that are specializing in US and are used to take care of US travelers' needs and demands, etc. So yeah, we have quite a few of it. I would, if it's a larger multi-generational group, or if it's a bunch of people traveling together, yeah, it's easier probably with to book that. All the hotels are bookable through the GDS system, or, you know, by fax to them. We, as Visit Sweden, we do not make any reservations, or so we can direct you in the right direction. You know, where should we stay, or what do you think for these clients, and so on. But most of it is done through the GDS and fax or email directly to the hotels or the incoming tour operators.
Okay. And James is asking if there are culinary travel tours.
There is culinary travel tours that the DMCs or the incoming agencies are doing, or you can also eat with a Swede. There's also culinary walk through Gothenburg, where you sort of get to see the food halls of Gothenburg, and then there is a famous chocolate making family that has different chocolate boutiques in Gothenburg, and then you end up at Feskekörka, or depending on, you know, it's designed after what the clients are looking for more. So yes, absolutely. And these trends that we are seeing now, it's that more and more people are doing the culinary walks, the culinary trips, etc. You know, if you go up to the coast, one of the biggest attractions is to, for instance, be part of the lobster fishing premiere. It happens on the 29th of September every year. You're not at 7 a.m. You're not allowed to put down the traps until 7 a.m. that
Okay.
Monday after the 29th, which is also, you know, culinary and so on. So you can be part of you know, learn how to cook the mussels, or learn how to cook the perfect cod, or etc. So it's and you know, the whole sea is a pantry, but then you also have the farms and all that, the dairy farms. I mean, it's just perfect if you're into culinary, you know, and you can use the local ones. You can see how the local apples are being made into apple juices, and you know how different the colors are depending on what sort of apple is used, for instance. And you know, and where they have grown because of the landscape. Pretty cool.
That's perfect. That is very cool. And culinary is huge, so that's perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you very much, Magnus, for responding to all those questions. The audience will be receiving an email. They'll have Magnus's information, and Magnus will be responding to those emails that we were unable to respond to during the presentation. So now I have the winner of the $250 gift card, and the winner is Tracy Walper. The last name is spelled W-A-L-P-E-R. Tracy Walper is the winner. And so thank you, everyone. And there is now going to be a short survey. If you could please take the time to respond, it would be greatly appreciated. And thank you very, very much for joining the webinar and learning more about West Sweden and Gothenburg. And hopefully you'll be sending a lot of your clients there, and hopefully I'll be going soon, and I'll be writing all about it in Recommend Magazine. Thank you very much. Thank you, Magnus.
No, thank you everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Have a great afternoon.